Hi, y'all. This is a review recap for Love Curve Country episode 2. Excuse me, it's delayed. I am not at home 24/7. I am around family because we've had a few deaths. And with that being said, it is never quiet. You'll see a glare in my glasses because I have the TV going so I can look up and catch the names because it does frustrate me not knowing their names at all times and asking y'all immediately. For those that have watched the episode, because it's been out now for almost a week, help me understand why impregnate the cattle with the monsters that they're developing and growing with all the extra eyes. Please let me know. I get somebody has to be like a carrier, but where's like the mother of all the animals or the monsters? That could be the carrier. And why keep Tick behind the spell door where he can't exit the room once she returns the memories to Leticia and Uncle George? So also, why create a faux Tick that goes over and presents himself to Leticia as if he's the one who's going to be the real Tick to help them get out? Like, I didn't get what they were trying to entrap her with, other than I guess keep them there and keep them occupied with something else going on. But it's still weird. I mean, because it's like, what are they really after? So now I am engaged to keep watching, not just for the racial component, but to see how the love lines, the storyline unfolds, because we learned that everybody has someone at some point. So I'll back up and let's get started with. We open with the Jeffersons. Moving on up. Jeanette Dubois is singing in the background. Uncle George is excited to read and look at all his books, and he walks out with his George Jefferson uh, twitch, walk, stroll, whatever you call a point of confidence. Leticia steps out with clothes that are made to fit custom. She says, fit like a glove. Tick is the only one that has black spidey senses going like, maybe that's part of the problem. Like Uncle George mentioned, so many books I never want to leave. Do you have books in your room? And he's like, maybe that's the intent here. Either way, there's an alarm goes off. Uncle George says, well, no one seems alarmed. Well, it's a bell to call for breakfast. And it's all set outside, al fresco style, on the veranda. Some bleach blonde guy, yeah, I've already passed his name. He's a friend of the friend's servant. I mean, I have two friends like that I could call and be like, hey, step in, host these peoples for me, and they will do it. Anybody else that have questions or I have to pay them, it'll be a job. That's just it. So it's kind of suspect. Like, is he Fence's boo? Yeah, I'm using Fence name from Scandal. But I know it's Tony go with, but once people get, like George Jefferson, his name is Sherman Hemsley. But once you know that character and they've like become part of American culture as that character, it's kind of hard to get away from it. I'm glad Day Day called y'all out for it, but I've never seen like Friday After Next, Next Friday, and all those. I've only seen the original. And I know you can make fun of me about that another time. Either way, the blonde servant walks them out to the veranda. They have their breakfast, but child, he stands in the window watching them. And I'm glad Uncle George was like, look, we can figure all this out in due time. Go see the village people, figure out who they are and what they're offering. But for right now, they're being friendly to us. Let's stay friendly. It was hilarious. You could see the humor being injected when Leticia rings the bell because Uncle George and Tick are talking. Leticia has sat down and started eating. Like, suspect or not, I'm ordering food. And of course she brings up, well, I need salt. Y'all know these white folks don't season their food. I'm grateful for Jordan Peele and the crew, executive producers, Misha as well, for getting involved in like really having like multi layers here. Not just the drama, not just the horror, but also the humor. Because that will hold me in. Humor and history. Because I don't like scary movies and I don't like scary episodes. And that monster with all the eyes all over his body, Tick called him a sagwath in episode 1. It makes my skin crawl. So I may miss something next time trying to fast forward. And anyway, we're introduced to Tony Goldblatt as a blonde, meaning he's the Brandwell's namesake that's there. His daughter is the lady with the hat that helped save them with the traffic and the Bentley before in Collinsville, Illinois, is what it's supposed to have been. Or no, Simmonsville. Collinsville is a real city in Missouri. Anywho, and as of now, she's like watching her father, I guess, go through a kidney removal, like with no anesthesia. And I'm like, y'all can do magic and spells and potions. Why don't you put him under? whatever, or give him some liquor so we can stop hearing him scream. At any rate, Tick walks in like nothing's going on. No one stops him. No one's worried about infections. No one's worried about conversations. Yeah, I know, it's TV. Why would they worry about infections, right? Well, I'm worried about it. And so we have Corona bouncing around. I'm mumbling, but I'm real serious about wash your hands and stay clean. Like in my dream home, I want a surgeon sink. The kind where you don't have to touch any. I know. No, no, no. Not the sensor. Because they don't always turn on for black folks. And that gets infuriating. I want the kind you press the pedals on the floor and get some water going and get to wash your hands. It could be as big as a trough for all I care. But that's what I want. That's my dream kitchen style and sink style in several places. Okay, so Tick goes out from the breakfast with the crowd in tow. Like, y'all don't remember anything that happened the night before? And they're like, no. Well, wait. Wait, what happened? And it's good to see Leticia really trying. But he walks them over to the car. Apparently, he's explained to them it's been damaged. Uncle George, like I thought you said, was damaged. It's completely repaired. There's no blood on the inside. The friend of the brainwaves comes out and explains he had that clean. But the car was returned as he saw it. It's always looked like that. But I'm like, how you going to fix the car but not fix the back window? It was still busted out. And that was from the shootout in Simonsville, Illinois. Yeah, so I'm just going to leave it at that and move on. So Tick is hot. He's like, you know what, forget it. Let's just go into the village and go into the town. I need to find my father. And I'm glad. If all things that are going on, Tick is a very dutiful son. He's questioning. So when did my father leave for Boston? Well, when is my father expected to return? Okay, he's not coming back, no problem. Just take me to a phone in this home and I'll call my father myself. And then it's like, oh, well, he built this for the summer house, so it has no phone. And all of this is like, you got to give it to Tick for being tenacious. Keep asking the questions, brother, because we can't just sit here going through all of this not to have, I don't know, Daddy Atticus reappear. So that's the goal. Tick goes into the village. They see what looks like the Quakers just running about, like real Pennsylvania style Quakers or Illinois, shirts there, the pants there, and they're walking about. Lady with a dog, he hears the whistle, so he runs towards the whistle. A true soldier runs towards the whistle. Like that was the sound that got rid of the animals, the monsters, the last night. So he runs towards it, sees a hot, sweaty, redneck looking lady. Ugh, trashy, basically. I'm not offending anyone. I'm just telling you, you could tell that's how they want her portrayed. And in doing so, she has two German shepherds on the leash, and they're wild. Uncle George's like, can you calm them down? And she's like, well, they're not the ones that need to be calmed down and on a leash. So she's implying Tick is the problem, and he has to be calmed down. And so Uncle George steps in. We're guests of Mr. Brainwheel. Oh, you don't look like the kind. So she makes some slick jabs about colored folks being smart, but not smart, that kind of dumb stuff. He was like, well, you must be the sheriff. Why you say that? This is the only brick building in the entire village. I was like, oh, look at them. There's some good deductive reasoning. Goes into the building, and they're like, you know what? Nope, it's not for people. It's not a jail. When we get wild bears out here, black bears. And it became a whole conversation. You see the hog heads hanging from the ceiling. Blood is dripping on the floor. The dogs are eating up the scraps that are down there. But Tick identifies this is a good holding place for my father. Like the floor, Uncle George notices the floor isn't reinforced. So based on the dogs barking and how that's going, it could easily be you have someone tied up underneath the floor and you're covering up the sounds with the dogs barking. Well, everyone warned them. The blonde-haired guy standing in for the friends while they were there. Be back by nightfall. Everybody says his name is William. Jordan Patrick Smith is his real name, but he's playing the role for William. Be back by nightfall. Gotta have dinner. The sheriff lady tells him, who's not a sheriff, so the redneck lady, you need to not be around here by nightfall. You know what? Good and plenty. Nightfall catches them. Even though Leticia brings it up. I'm like, we've already covered sundown towns and now sundown counties. Please, y'all. Can we not? But if nothing else, the monsters come out at night. Tick should remember this, and sure enough, the rumblings come through the ground. It's one of those monsters with all the eyes over it. Excuse the scratching in the movie, but this is what happens. It's called trypophobia. So I remember when it occurred, and ever since I saw something scrolling through Facebook, and all those little bitty eyes all around, it just makes my skin crawl. So now I want to even scratch my ankle and it's all over. I know you didn't tune in to hear that, but that's what's going on. I don't do drugs. I don't even drink. But it's just the vision of it. And sometimes it's so bad if I stare or look at it too long or caught me off guard. I close my eyes, I still see it. It becomes a real thing. So I have some family that watches out and lets me know when something's coming up. Like, don't look at that. And they'll move ahead. I know it's serious. I wish it wasn't, y'all. I really wish it wasn't, because it wasn't always the case. But back to Lovecraft Country. I do like that the executive producers and the writers are real bent on, we're not going to let up on the racial dichotomy that you have to contend with here. Like I mentioned first time around, there's racism, there's sexism, there's colorism that comes up as well. You know, Leticia belonging in a family where they have all the shades of black being represented. But we're also learning that there's a backstory with Uncle George and Tick's father. So we now identify Tick is part of the bloodline here. So the daddy being kidnapped was basically Bates. So the mother in the heritage, which it was originally with the Brainwith, who ran out holding a book while the place burned, and she basically led them back through that same process to save them. Tick finds his father. His Leticia has been shot by Brainwith and Uncle George. Brainwith is like, do what I need you to do, and I'll be a man of my word, and I'll give your people back. Ultimately, he succumbs. Leticia is brought back, but Uncle George does not. But before Uncle George goes, he talks to his brother. And he asks him about being nice, being loving to Tick. And that's what we learn, you know, although they had a gentleman's agreement to never discuss it, apparently Tick belongs to Uncle George. I don't know which woman, because we saw in flashback, there's a sequence piece here, a dream piece, where the spells are in effect. And so that's why I believe this fake Tick walked in the room with Leticia, because she is lusting after him and wants that to happen. Whereas Tick is having a fantasy about a lady, I'm assuming South Korean, because you can tell he fought in the Korean War. And they have an entanglement. He has to kill her. Uncle George has a flashback to his first wife. Really cute lady. I forgot her real name. But I liked her in some other shows she's done. At any rate, the people in like this specialty group are watching them through a spell sequence sheer wall. So they're able to watch and see how they respond to things. Tony even Goldwyn made mention that he didn't expect Tick to be so dark. But baby, when I tell you I heard that, it was kind of offensive. But I moved on with my life and was like, it's all right. I'm glad Uncle George got an opportunity when they came to the dinner to let everybody know Tick is genuinely the bloodline of the original Brainwith. So apparently when the Brainwith was really generous, I'm using air quotes, with his enslaved servants, they were trying to allude to the fact that he was sleeping with one. I mean, procreation happens. We know this occurred a lot, not just from Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings through the time. And so either way, Uncle George pulls out the trump card, which is Tick runs this show actually based on your own rules, articles, policies, and procedures. So basically he became Sergeant at Arms, and I like it because this group, even though Tony threw it out like, well, you may be in charge and can throw orders, but these other men are following the orders based on superstition. It's not specifically that you get to just tell everybody what to do and we have to go along with it. It's up to a point. And so this is how others get wounded. All in all, I will say this. I enjoyed the episode. I actually watched it on Sunday, actually Saturday night, like 11:59 Central Time. It was available. We started to watch it. Tick Freeman, at the end of the day, got his father in his arms. The house just crumbled. I can't wait to see what that's all about. But the Book of Names is super powerful. I can't wait to find out, did his ancestor really read it? Like grandmother, great-grandmother, whomever she is in the lineage, and how does that work? And ultimately, if Uncle George dies, Hippolyta is going to be informed about this, as we see from the previews from the next episode, and she doesn't trust it nor believe it. So she's asking more questions. I can't wait to find out how his father is going to push through this whole process, because they didn't just get him out. They went back to that castle holding, and the redneck lady tried to fight them. Leticia showed up and knocked her on her butt. And so she was knocked out cold. They were able to get away from it. They couldn't just drive away from all the agony they had going on because the blonde girl put a spell, and that is how the car crashed. It's like Cabin in the Woods. You can't see it, but they drove right into it, and at that moment, that's when they shot Leticia, and then ultimately Uncle George. Simple as that. Um, it's worth it, y'all. It's got me in tune and thinking about it more and more. For me to watch it a second time, not just to come in and be like, did I understand this good enough to have a recap? But no, I don't like being delayed, noise or not. I did want to rewatch it to make sure that I missed little nuances or things there that I didn't always catch. So please drop in the comments. Let me know what you think. I've heard a lot of good feedback. It's nice to see Black women watching and reviewing the show. I hope more do, so we can have dialogue. But if nothing else, I'm happy to hear from everyone and see how this story really plays itself out. I think the characters that are listed, I just can't see Mr. Courtney B. Vance being out of the show. I feel like he's going to have a flashback, or at some point somebody's going to bring him back alive. I don't know. Let's hope so. But with Hillary and all her spells, it's funny to me what she can do and won't do. So let's talk about that. At the end of the day, I can't wait to identify if Tick will ultimately be in charge. That's it. Y'all have a great